there's a lot of innovation we're seeing that is really kind of building on top of that new form factor. And often what is concentrated on is the user-facing applications. Since this is a conference that's about small business advertising tools, or just small business tools in general, we decided to show a few merchant-facing iPad apps, and also not just kind of the standard slides and screenshots. These are live apps that we're going to be kind of driving on stage with an iPad. Rahul alluded to this. This is kind of a bonus demo. It's not in your agendas. But how many of you have heard of Square? So a lot of you. So there's a lot of talk these days about mobile payments. We cover this a lot on the BIA Kelsey blog, and I have a report out for BIA Kelsey clients that's on this subject of mobile payments. But mobile payments are usually talked about in the context of paying for something with your phone, either with a near-field communications or a tap, or a lot of these other technologies that are developing. This is a bit different. This is using the mobile device to receive payments. So the actual payment is happening with a credit card. So the barrier is a bit lower in terms of adoption. And really what it requires for any given merchant or any individual is this little free piece of hardware. And actually, as I'm talking, would you guys mind launching the Square app? I think it's on that second page. All you need is an iPad and this little free piece of hardware that plugs right into the audio input at the top of the iPad. And essentially what that does is it lowers the barrier and kind of democratizes this world of SMBs that can accept credit cards. Prior to this, what was required was a bank relationship and monthly minimums, and that really just kind of lowers those barriers. Now, for every transaction, there's a 2.5% transaction fee, which is competitive with what normal kind of credit card processing systems take. But again, it's really that kind of less of a need for a bank relationship and monthly minimums and these other barriers that have been put in place in what is kind of becoming known as a broken system. So it's really kind of perfect for a lot of SMBs, millions of small businesses that currently don't accept credit cards. Think about, street vendors or food carts or, farmers markets or any professional service that does house calls, or as one of my colleagues reminds me, for prostitutes. And I won't mention who that was, but it's a Kelsey analyst whose name, or he has the same initials as me. So essentially, it's really lowering a lot of these barriers. And I'm going to actually do a little demo here. And what I need is an audience volunteer who has a credit card and is interested in buying a BIA Kelsey analyst briefing for $1. It's a pretty good deal. Gib, you want to? And you got to come up here too. So the way this works, again, this easy piece of hardware plugs right in. And what I've done is, in advance, set up. You get to choose any analyst, and I'll show you how this is set up in a bit. Choose an analyst, any analyst. Matt, okay. Oh wait, that's two Matts.
Damn, no.
Wait, remove. Wait. It's supposed to be $1. You might get the cheaper Mike Boland. He's $1. Unless you want the super size. Okay, so that's set up, and that's what you want, and then this is swiped. Maybe I had that backwards.
Oh no, my foot reached. Forgot to pay. Here, I got another one, really.
This one says Premier. Okay, so it's authorizing. Now what I'm going to have you do next is sign this. Sorry to box you out there, Rahul. Approved. So I'm going to have you sign with your finger on that line. All right, great signature.
It is a good signature.
Okay.
Nobody copy that.
I think I'm also going to need your email address because I'm going to email you this receipt.
That's even good too. Boland@gmail.com.
Okay, I'll just type it in then. You can go back to your seat. I'm just kidding, thank you. Okay, so send via email. The best part about this demo, too, is now everyone knows Gibbs' email address. Okay. Now, for the purpose of demonstration, well, okay, that's done. You paid $1. Thank you. So, now what I'm going to do is go to my email to see that the payment has been received. And there we go. Nope. Yep, so there's my payment. I've just received $1. Well, the transaction was for $1. What ended up being dumped in my account was about 97 cents because of the transaction fee. Gib has charged $1. I'm not sure if that's showing up yet on your Gmail account, but you'll see your signature and all of that. So the other cool thing here is, I kind of started halfway through by showing, some of that inventory that we already have, in this case, a number of analysts. The way that you set that up is actually pretty interesting, too. So you kind of go to your account settings. It has all of your sales history. You go to your items. I'm going to add an item. This is something that, among my photos, I've already taken a picture. You can take any picture, including with the iPad using the camera. Choose that picture. Item name, we're just calling it coffee. Price, we'll just say that's $1. A large is $1.50. And we're going to have sales tax on. And there we are, we're all set. So next time someone is, in my store wanting to buy a cup of coffee, there it is. Let's have it be a large. And the other interesting thing you can do here is, in addition to swiping a credit card, you can have this be really just kind of a glorified calculator and record keeper if you're doing cash transactions through this. Really, the point is this for this to replace your cash register. Let's charge that. I want that to be cash. That is, $2.50 change. Tender cash. In case the receipt is necessary in this cash transaction, you can do that as well. We'll skip that part. You paid $1.50. Back to my account, that $1.50 shows up in my most recent transaction. So you can see kind of the possibilities for this. It's a very kind of easy to use, very intuitive tool. It's all touchscreen based. And where I believe this is going is to tie into deal redemption, tying into other kind of search products that really have this as really the last stage of that purchase funnel in ways that can really tie the loop together, because now you're talking about a tracked transaction. So that's Square. At this point, I'll open it up to any questions about Square or to either of these gentlemen. If there aren't any questions out there now, please raise your hand. We have a few more minutes left, and I'll kind of open it up to you guys. You both, and I guess this is a good segue from talking about payments, you both mentioned that, or actually, Rahul, you mentioned that payments could be, and deals and payments could kind of meld together through what you're doing, and payments could be the next step. And then also, Fred, it seems to me that, this is a platform, Resbook, not only in kind of breaking down some of these barriers and making it seamless for the restaurant owner, but also to kind of develop relationships with their frequent customers. Is there the opportunity to bring payments into that to make it, we already have your payment information on file, rather than the kind of lengthy payment process at the end of any given meal, if they're crowded or if credit cards are involved? So I guess, Rahul, you can answer that first, and then you can think about, Fred, if that comes in at all or if that's a total disconnect.
Yeah, so I think, our feeling is that, what Square, and I think also now Intuit's Go Payment have done is they've made it really easy for the merchant to start accepting these payments.
Yep.
Currently, those are only like face-to-face. You can't use either of those systems to take a web transaction yet, though I think from at least one of those vendors that's forthcoming. And I think the simplicity that you didn't really show, but of the provisioning and getting able to take those, which is a very simple process, is the same thing that needs to happen, kind of for deals and offers. And then I think more interestingly, once, you're either at NFC or whatever the kind of phone-based payment system is going to be, and it could even be something like the back end of the credit card network. But if that can be feeding in all the payment activity, then I think you've got this really kind of zero consumer effort triggering mechanism that can be used to heavily target and trigger, what might be of interest to the consumer, whether that is display or whether that's offers or whether that's, other types of kind of incentives.
Mm-hmm. Any thoughts, Fred, on payments, or is that just something that is separate from what you're trying to do?
Well, we've played around with the idea of integrating payments. The challenge is you have to integrate into the point-of-sale system that already exists in the restaurant, because that's where the credit card processing lies typically.
Yep.
What we are doing, though, is we are actually taking that spend data from the POS and attaching it to a name.
Okay.
Because right now, the problem for a lot of restaurants is they have spend, and they have a table and who served them and what they ate, but they have no idea who the person is.
That's interesting.
And so we actually have the name, and we can append that to the data without touching the credit card information.
Now, is that for the purposes of follow-on marketing, retargeting, for lack of a better term?
Exactly. Okay. So you can follow up. You can actually figure out, this person's been here 7 times, but are they truly a VIP? Are they just coming in and they always order a coffee and a piece of pie, or do they come in and order champagne and bring 7 people with them and spend $1,000 every time they walk in the door? That's more someone I want to retarget.
Any questions out there? Doesn't look like it. So you guys both, you were very good about following my instructions to have this demo be a merchant-facing one. But you guys both have products that essentially came before this that were very much consumer-facing. And this really kind of ties the loop between both sides of the equation. How are these systems that you showed us in these apps tying into the consumer-based experience? And you kind of both alluded to how that's happening. How do you see that really kind of coming together so that people searching for things can kind of be led into this process of what the merchant sees, what the merchant's doing, and where's that going, just for the sake of the merchant?
I'll jump in real quick. The reason we did this in the first place was because we wanted to give the consumer a richer experience.
Right.
Urban Spoon started off as a great way to find a restaurant. But then you had to leave Urban Spoon to start engaging with the restaurant. You either then went to another site and made a reservation, or you hit the button and you called them. There was no way to actually communicate to the restaurant. So what we're actually doing now with this product is we're giving people the ability to make a reservation. If the restaurant's offering a deal, it can come in through that reservation note, and they can actually do a seamless redemption. And all of that is now publishing on the Urban Spoon site, giving the consumer more reason to come back in.
That does make sense. Rahul, the tie into your kind of consumer-facing side of the business?
Yeah, I mean, I think we see that there's the consumer-facing side that has a lot of different elements. It has, a mobile phone component, it has a desktop component, it has an application component, and we think the in-store loyalty piece is one more item, and it's especially nice because it means, if you have some feature phone, you can still kind of interact with the merchant. You don't have to be, kind of iPhone user, and I think in some of the markets we're looking at, it's, the penetration of those smartphones is lower than in the United States, certainly. So and then on the merchant side, I think whether you're provisioning through the tablet or whether you're provisioning through the desktop, again, it's slightly different in terms of what we emphasize because we think, people are going to do different things. But even like deal redemption, you should be able to do that on SMS or on a phone. Just invoking a deal, you should be able to do it on a phone. But setting it all up, it's more like tablet and desktop. So we really see kind of one system to let the merchants both attract new users kind of in a Groupon style and to access the people who are coming into their establishments. And an example is there's a sushi restaurant near our offices in Dublin, and they get like 3,000 to 7,000 people a week in the door. But their mailing list is like very small, and they're just not connecting with that many users. So they have enough users to just market to their own user base. They don't need Groupon to be bringing them all in.
Yep, makes sense. Now, do you guys picture that, next 4 to 5 years or within the forecast period of the Gartner study I mentioned, they're saying 300 million worldwide annual tablet sales. When is it going to be when we see kind of an iPad or other tablet, at the front at the hostess stand of, every restaurant you walk into? Do you think that's going to happen?
I think that's quick. I think on Android, the price curve is like getting crazy low.
Yes.
And you'll get, kind of Huawei or whatever coming.
Yeah,
and
they're the cost
$99 like non-POB tablet comes out. I think that's cheaper than maintaining paper. And the really nice thing is you can A/B test that and see what works, especially if there's some interaction. And then if it is driven by operators, you can kind of zero out the bandwidth in a Kindle-style model where, they're renting you the tablet.
Yeah, the tablet's the loss leader.
Yeah, bandwidth built in for the dedicated application.
Interesting. Any thoughts on that? I mean, you're obviously interested in seeing, an iPad behind every counter, right? But,
right. Well, like I said, we're actually giving away an iPad just to get to remove that barrier completely. But what we found is these are actually already cheaper than a lot of those heavy terminals that you see in the front of a restaurant today. They're a smaller footprint. They're portable, so they can actually walk around and update things like a table status, or they could walk to the back and show the chef a comment, or whatever the case may be. But you're already seeing companies like ours use this as a platform. Living Social is actually giving it away as part of their Instant Deals program. There's a number of new POS companies that are coming out which are being built explicitly on the iPad. And when there are tablets out there that actually have more real estate, I think you'll start to see some of those as well. Microsoft is working on one. As I was meeting with them last week, they're doing some interesting things that could be a tablet. Obviously, Android, when they get a bigger tablet, a more robust tablet, I think you'll start to see that as well.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, you two are among a small batch of companies that are really focusing on, the merchant-facing tools. So I think that's going to be very much a growing market just based on, the penetration of tablets and iPads specifically. As we were talking about yesterday, SMBs' behavior as advertisers tends to mimic their behavior as users. And as this penetration grows in usage, I think we're going to see it indeed, at every host stand, at most restaurants around the country. So that's about all the time we have. Thanks for sticking with us. We have a break right now, which is sponsored by Traffic Media, and we're back in here at 4, so please join me in thanking these gentlemen.